Welcome back, everyone. This is episode 139 of the Jiu-Jitsu Dummies podcast. We're brought to you by Black Belt Digital Marketing. Anything you need to build your business on or offline, website design, Google Ads, reputation management is our claim to fame, getting local businesses found. We can absolutely help with anything you need. Check us out at Black Belt Digital Marketing on Instagram or our website, which is bbdigitalmarketing.com. You can go on that website, request a free review of your online presence, give you like an entire scan of where your business stands online. It's really interesting. My name is Milton Campus. I'm a black belt training out of South Florida. We got Christian behind the camera. Woo! No Bo today. Bo's going to do the final cut, but he's not in the studio today. Don't forget to like, comment, download, share, and click that subscribe button. We'd really appreciate all the support. So thank you, everybody. We just hit 15K on Instagram, which is a big deal for us. So thank you, everybody. Again, thank you for the support. Moving real quick. Hopefully, we'll be at 20 pretty quick. Joining us today are Mike and Sheena Bidwell. We're going to bring them in a second. They're from BJJ After 40. I know that you're going to be familiar once you see their faces. Quick few shout outs here. We're going to shout out, first of all, Flow and Roll, been with us from the very beginning. We just finished a belt giveaway, so thank you everybody who submitted for the giveaway, tagged their friends, did all that fun stuff. You can go check them out at flow_n_roll on IG, or you can visit their website at flowandroll.com. You get 20% off of your orders with code JJD. And although we've been talking about the embroidered belts that they do, they've got an incredible pre-order program. If you've got a new gym or you need to stock up in your gym, they've got a great, really interesting way of helping you get your gear. You don't have to lay out a lot of money out of pocket, and your students can actually order your stuff online and it'll get sent directly to them. They get a bag with it. They get, probably some stickers and patches and some extra things here once in a while. So just check them out. Again, flowandroll.com, 20% off with code JJD. Also, Leo Optics. Where are my sunglasses? Let me put my sunglasses on. These are my favorites. They keep us in shades. Leo Optics is a sunglass and apparel company specializing in these signature bamboo sunglasses. I love this. Right, if we can see that, right? I got these before I was a black belt, but they usually send them out with the red stripe. You can request your belt stripe here on the inside. They have bamboo. They have other styles too, but they're known for their bamboo sunglasses. Their passion is rooted in the jiu-jitsu lifestyle. It's founded in Southern California, and their products reflect the BJJ lifestyle. So go check them out. I think Mike and Sheena, I think I've seen you working with them, right? I know we put you into a couple of posts on our page. You can visit their website at leooptics.com and use code JJD for 10% off. Who else do we got here? We've got Bioprotein Technology. This is a bioidentical alternative to human growth hormone. I've been using this now for probably, 6-9 months, somewhere in that range. I did get blood work done recently. My HGH is up tremendously over about a year and change ago. So this is the only thing that I changed in that regard. So BioPro helps you with anti-aging, metabolism, libido, immune system, skin, cognition, as well as sleep and stress. So I've got the quarter sleep and the regular. So the quarter sleep I take at night, and then the regular one I take in the morning before breakfast. You want to take it on an empty stomach. And look, it's just a little vial. Shake it up, put it under the tongue for 90 seconds. It's great. No needles, no side effects. And you can check them out at bioproteintech.com. You get $30 off with code JJD on any of their regularly priced kits. So basically, you'll be buying 2 kits, you get $30 off. All right? All right, that's it. Let's do this. Let's get Mike and Sheena in here. I kept it to under 4 minutes. Welcome, guys. I am so happy. You got Mike. Let me just tell you, you're one of my favorite guys to talk to and follow online. So great to have you back. And it's very nice to meet you, Sheena. I know we only spoke by phone once, but the smiles on your face are like just so inviting and soothing.
So, wait, hold on. So, congratulations on your black belt.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you. I very much appreciate that, man. A lot of hard work, and I truly understand. And that whole now the journey begins. I always thought that was so corny and whatever. But, now it's like I see even on the lead up, I started going to the gym more. I was like, when I get this, I'm going to have earned it. I don't want to just get my black belt because the amount of time. I was going more. I was going through some personal stuff. So it was like helped me mentally. It's, I do feel that extra good pressure in my mind. Like I feel that extra, you got to live up to this now. You want to say you're a black belt. You can't, there's no days off, no taking off, no slacking,
like a sense of responsibility to it now, right?
Yeah. It's but it's a beautiful thing, man. I do feel like the journey has just begun, and now I got to keep, trying to keep up. Look, we're, you guys, you're I don't want to say you're most known, but you're definitely known for the BJJ After 40 brand. So I've definitely been following. I started at 41. So, I mean, there's who better to talk to than you about this stuff? Sheena, yes. I'm not going to guess how old you are, Sheena. Are you over 40 as well? Am I allowed to ask that? Is that okay?
I'm 41.
Okay.
But I started Mike's 15 years older than me. So I've been BJJ After
Look
40.
at that. Look at Mike's smile. He's like, yeah, that's right.
It's been a minute going on to this, though.
Yeah.
Like, it started, BJJ After 40 started way before then for me.
Because she's been hearing about, I'll be 55 in May. So she's been hearing about BJJ After 40 for the last 15 years.
Yeah. Were you guys together already when the brand started, when you started this? And I mean, I don't know if there was purpose behind it. No one ever thinks that something like that is going to turn into what it's turned into for you. Was there purpose behind it? Was it purposeful?
In some ways, like, we've always been about purpose instead of outcome, like not cheesy about it, but it's the truth. Like, I never looked at BJJ After 40 as being anything other than like a great community for people to connect and a place to like share jiu-jitsu for people over 40. Did I think it was going to be as big as it is now? No, I didn't think so. But, I it was always kind of in my heart, hoping that it would like, blow up and, give something back to jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah, that seed of being able for, at the time, Mike approaching his 40s and saying, I need to do this differently. Like, I love this so much. And he wasn't a black belt at the time. So it was like, as a brown belt who was at that kind of tipping point of, I either need to do this differently so I can continue, or I can't do it. Like, we both had to find a way for him to personally be able to practice jiu-jitsu. And then we were able to, after a while, be like, oh, let's share some things that have been working for you and see if it resonates with anybody else. So it started there and has been going ever since.
Well, the value for you was that you experienced BJJ before 40. Like, you got to the benefit of like helping me and figuring all of this out in your 30s instead of waiting until like you're 40 and you're like, oh shit, like, how am I going to do jiu-jitsu differently now without losing all of the things that I love about jiu-jitsu too, right?
Yeah. Did you guys? I know that we've probably talked about this, man. We're gonna talk like we've never spoken before because not everybody's listened to everyone, right? So, did you guys meet on the mats? Were you already doing jiu-jitsu, Sheena, or did you meet and then he was like, hey, check this thing out that I do? How did that work?
Yeah, I was already in stand-up martial arts at the time. And so Mike and I did meet on the mats through martial arts. It was stand-up, though. It was Taekwondo. It was not jiu-jitsu.
That was traditional martial arts. But then the second we started dating, it got hot and heavy and quick kind of when we met. Like, we were, immediately, like, pretty much we knew we were always going to be together, we just kind of knew. So like right away, she was doing jiu-jitsu with me. So when you've been doing jiu-jitsu for 20 years, like plus, like how long was it for you from white to black belt? And I was there. I promoted her all the way through too, like her blue belt, her purple, her brown, and her black belt. Like, she's my first black belt.
Yeah, so 39, I think. So really.
Was there ever a time you said you knew you guys going to be together as someone who is relatively newly single? I think about it's, I'm out there dating and when I'm talking to women, I'm talking about like, you don't have to do this, but I need you to be passionate about something that's like healthy, either the gym or martial arts. Like, if there was a checklist, I'm like, part of my checklist is like, I need you to do something or be as into something as me. Like, I hate to use the word obsessed, but like, I'm going to be on the mats as long as I can, like you guys are saying, right? It's a requirement for me to meet somebody that does this or something like it, or that passionate. Let me use that word. You're that passionate about something that's physical, that's keeping you healthy and in shape. Does that make sense? Right.
Oh my God. Totally makes sense. Because before Sheena, I was married before, and I had come off from a divorce, but I didn't have a partner before that was like into like martial arts, and they don't have to necessarily be into martial arts, but like had a passion about fitness or anything like that. So when Sheena and I connected through martial arts, I think that was like we both were like excited to have a partner that was into something that that each was passionate about, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the difference in the quality of person you are and who you as yourself bring to the relationship when you are actively mentally, emotionally engaging in your well-being. And the person that you're with, of course you want that reciprocated. So it's definitely an okay ask for
even just like I think what you said, Milton, is important, like something that you're passionate about, because if you're not passionate about something, and it doesn't always have to be like your career too, it could be something that you just love, like it could be fitness, maybe not fitness, you could be into painting or music or something. But I think it's important as partners to support each other in the things that you are passionate about or the things that you want to have in your life.
And what's amazing about jiu-jitsu is, yes, it is the mental and the emotional, but it's the physical chess. And if you are in a relationship with somebody that you care about and their physical being isn't there, how can you be in a relationship with them? So having an outlet for them to, in a healthy way, get their energy out, have their muscles growing and their
mental energy as well. Challenging your mind, all of the great things that we love about jiu-jitsu.
Right. Yeah.
How hard is it? I'm looking for the advice here. How hard is it to, you were going to somebody else's gym doing Taekwondo when you met, right? This wasn't your own gym. So you're at somebody else's gym and you're training together. When it got to the jiu-jitsu side, Mike, that was your gym? When you
here it's kind of even crazier than that. So I came out. So we live in Colorado. Our school's in Colorado. I came out here in the early 2000s. I had a jiu-jitsu school in Delaware at that point. And I came out here with a couple jiu-jitsu guys for a martial arts marketing boot camp. And the school that was hosting the boot camp was the school that she trained at. And so
I believe everything happens for a reason, right?
What's that?
Everything happens for a reason, right? Like there's,
It's our origin story. But basically, so I came out for this boot camp. She was working at the Taekwondo school that was hosting this thing. And I went to that school to visit a day before the actual boot camp started. They had all the martial arts school owners could come down and tour the school, and they did a presentation and stuff. And she was working at the front desk. And I come into the school and she's working. I was like, wow, this girl's pretty hot. Caught my eye right away. And so me being the witty guy that I am, she's like, can you go ahead and sign the book here? And I signed the book, David Berkowitz. Do you know who David Berkowitz is?
Yes, I know it.
Right. AKA the son of Sam. The serial killer. I thought that was funny. So what did you say?
Well, I didn't know who that was. So I was like, how do you spell Berkowitz? I mean, it's
how do you spell Berkowitz? And so, so that was how the whole thing started. And I've been the Joker ever since. But so that's how we met. And we were, talking throughout the weekend of this boot camp. And it's kind of funny because it's like a freaking romantic comedy. The last night of the boot camp, we hadn't exchanged numbers or anything, but we were talking and stuff. And I was getting ready to leave the boot camp to go out with a bunch of jiu-jitsu guys that wanted to go to a club or something. So we're pulling out of the parking lot. I was like, hey, stop the car. They're like, why? I'm like, I'm going to go back and look for that girl. It's the last night. I'm going to find that girl. So I go back into the hotel. I'm running down the halls. We bump into each other. We start hanging out and exchange phone numbers. And next thing you know, she's in Delaware living with me and training jiu-jitsu. And that's kind of how it started.
Wow. That's great. That's great. So it inspires me. I'll say my last relationship the woman was wonderful, but I always say that my work, which includes this, and by default jiu-jitsu itself, was like the other woman. It was I was doing this without her. It was almost like Well, you go and have fun when you talk to people. Like, so it was less work. It wasn't work.
Right.
This is like your hobby, but it was turning into work. It was, becoming profitable. And now, honestly, it helps us get business. We're a sponsor. My company's a sponsor. The marketing company, Black Belt, is a sponsor, and we get business from it. And so I get to talk to people. Sponsors are paying us. I get clients from my other company from it. And I love jiu-jitsu, right? So it's just like, she just kind of never saw that. And it was always like a sore spot. And I needed that support. And it was more like, like we weren't on a team. It was like we were adversaries. And this was like the thing that we were arguing about, which led to, always leads to other things. So now I'm sitting here going, it's funny. Me and Christian always, Christian got me on the dating apps. Christian, our producer here, is just like, you got to get on the dating apps. And I did it. But it's like, again, I've met some great women, but I'm always like, it comes back to, what do you do for fun? Or, do you train? Do you go to the gym? And I want to say I want people to understand this is not about me finding some like fitness model. I mean, like, actually, that's not what I want, right? It's about the health. I think more than anything for me, it's the healthy lifestyle that you have to do this, right? You got to remember, I had a heart attack when I was 43. So like, this is even more important to me, to live healthy, to eat healthy food and shop at Whole Foods. Like, I've had women like, oh, Whole Foods is too expensive, I'm not going to shop there. I'm like, don't you want me alive longer? Right. Like, I just need somebody by default that's just like, oh yeah, of course, that's a given. Right. So I go back to, I really feel like it needs to be someone that really not only understands the fitness side, but ideally, if I found somebody in jiu-jitsu, would be great. Because again, I named my company basically after jiu-jitsu. I've got the podcast, and if I'm not doing this, I'm at the gym, right? So it's becoming even more and more important. I'm leading to the question of, when you guys are on the mat, like, how difficult is it to like watch your wife maybe roll with another in the beginning? Let's say in the beginning, like, okay, she's training with guys and like, guys and I should say this, like, in my gym, we haven't always done this, but we've very much done this for the last few years, is the women train by themselves. Like, that we train on the same mat, but the women usually roll with the women, the guys roll with the guys. It wasn't always like that. Definitely, I'm a bigger guy. I'm 230, so most of the women just aren't a good fit for a good roll with me. It's probably not great for either one of us. I shouldn't maybe say that. They might think that it's not a great role for them, so why would they want to roll with a guy that's almost double their size? But just watching your girlfriend at the time rolling with men, did that bother you? Is there something that you had to get used to?
So I've seen like both sides of it, because Sheena, even when we were doing jiu-jitsu together, like, there were schools that like we trained at where she was doing Muay Thai and doing MMA classes. And I watched guys like literally punch my wife in the face. And that, honestly, like, I'd be lying if I said, no, like, she's her own person, she can handle it. Like, of course she could handle it, but I had more trouble handling some of that, honestly. Like, I couldn't even watch her take Muay Thai and MMA classes. But with jiu-jitsu, I've never really kind of felt that way with you and other men. And I've seen Sheena go through like all the stages of all the belts, and watch her, like, the struggles that, like, everybody faces, but the particular struggles that like females face, and, grappling with bigger guys and all of that. So I never felt like that uncomfortable with the jiu-jitsu aspect of it. I don't anymore, because she's a black belt now, and like, she can, she's an ass kicker. So I don't even have to think about that now. It's more funny just to watch her like kill a bigger guy than nowadays. But that's never really bothered me. How do you feel about that? You ever felt like uncomfortable with that with guys?
Well, I get what you're saying about the difference in size and the difference in just the vibe and the culture in the school. We have been at academies where it's not really condoned for a lower belt, me at the time, to walk up to maybe an upper belt who's a lot bigger than me and say, hey, we're going to roll now, it might be more acceptable for me to just roll with the women versus at other schools.
Or smaller people.
Yeah, sure.
I think it comes down to that for me more than anything, is like the size. Like, you know, we would all love to think that, you know, oh, size doesn't matter in jiu-jitsu, but we all know that's not true. Like, you know, when all other things are equal, size, you know, is
and
a
strength, right? Strength comes into play as well, right?
So doesn't speed, so doesn't, like, you know, flexibility. Like, there's different attributes that are going to be, you know, overwhelming, but weight alone is a big one. It's not even, you know, it's like when someone I always feel like there's about a 50-pound threshold. Like, if someone is like more than 40 or 50 pounds bigger, like, it's just, you know, you can have fun with the roll, but there's still going to be like, there can be somewhat of a safety issue. Like, if you're a bigger dude and you come down on just even passing the guard, your knee comes down on her leg hard, you know, you can jack somebody up pretty easily. Like, you know, even with the two of us, like, I always have to remind myself, there's like always going to be like 50, 60-pound weight difference. Like, we have a weight difference in us. And so when I roll with Sheena, I have to be very cognizant of, like, you know, like, that there's certain things that I'm not trying to do, you know, versus like if I roll with someone who's my size, I can, you know, feel a little bit better about, like, you know, trying to smash them and that kind of thing.
How do you feel about that, Sheena? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, so
because let me can I preface that with something like, I know that sometimes when I've said that in front of somebody, male or female, they get a little annoyed if I'm kind of saying like, I'm taking it a little bit easier on you because of your size. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Right?
Sure. Yeah. And that's, you know, everybody has their own way that they're going to get through working through, how am I going to deal with saying no to this person or setting this boundary or figuring out what is best for me. And that has to come down to, like Mike is saying, if you outweigh me, literally my person doubly, what's the point in us getting together and trying to smash it out for 5 minutes versus, is it a better use of our time, of our partnership, of our teamwork together to do something differently, to roll differently, to drill, to anything, so that you and I can mutually be teammates, partners, work together, but it doesn't have to be in this pre-structured way that this is the only answer and this is the only path that you can take. I feel like you can go about this training in a way with whoever you want to train with, but with setting those perfect boundaries for yourself. So if it is somebody, like if I weigh under 130 pounds and you weigh over 230 pounds, right? Like, let's do what's going to be best for both of us, not have an ego match, right?
Maybe it's not rolling. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. Maybe it's just drilling. Maybe whatever. Like, why does it have to be that we have to roll? We could still train and work together.
For me, male or female, I'm usually going to pull guard on somebody who's smaller. And I always tell people, I still do this now, and I know who to do it with and who not to do it with in my gym, is I tell them, like, you have control of the accelerator here. We're going to go as hard and as fast as you're going to start it. Like, you know, that, hey, let's flow. And then the flow all of a sudden starts escalating. And now you're in like a full battle and it's like 80cc finals. Right. And that happens. So like, I usually, you know, whether it's set or unset, I usually let them control the pace. And for me, you know, I've been doing this long enough now that I know I'm going to pull guard on somebody smaller, but listen, I pulled guard on somebody smaller and then they just go like, not ham in a bad way. Like, their technique is on point, like a blue belt that's been training for 5 or 6 years on and off. I've got one of those in my gym. He does these flying knee cuts, and I'm just like, oh, okay, well, maybe I'm not going to let you pass. But he's like much smaller than me. But I'll usually just take that opportunity to kind of work on my defense and, again, pull guard, let them work. If I do roll with a smaller, a woman that's smaller, I'm always going to like, okay, attack. And sometimes they've looked at me and been like, oh, my God, we're going to roll. And I'm like, don't worry, I'm going to just work. And then I'll just, again, I'll pull guard and and they're like, I've come out of those roles and women have said like, that was great because I'm giving them, I'm matching their intensity. I'm not just giving them anything, but again, I'm cognizant of, I might outweigh most of the women. I'm probably outweighing them by 100 pounds. So I have to take that into consideration. I've been walking around at 230 for the longest time. I'm probably in like the low 220s right now. Still, average girl in my gym is under 130 pounds easily. And so it's no fun for them. But again, my gym, for the most part, we keep the women separate. On an open mat day, maybe there's only a couple of women and it's a bunch of guys. And sometimes it's been the other way around. It's like the class is full of women and there's only a couple of guys. So we wind up, mixing and matching. So it does happen. But I think that anybody out there that's listening has to realize, like, it can't be just Hulk smash all the time. You have to. And I've had people be like, no, you gotta, they gotta deal with it. They gotta deal with it. What if they get attacked on the street? And I'm like, but this isn't the street, and we gotta go to work tomorrow. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to get hurt, right? Don't break your toys, because then nobody wants to play with you, right? So I mean, I say all those things to people, and I think that after a while, even the spazzy white belts, that like, they realize it. In the beginning, when you try to tell them, like, okay, calm down, technique. I've got a couple of big guys that are white belts in my gym. I'm just like, okay, man, these guys are just like spazzy. My face hurts here on the side. I got a knee in the head the other day from a white belt. I'm just like, oh, geez, like, just from like he was getting side controlled, kneed me in the head so hard. I mean, it happens, but you don't want to be doing that, regardless of gender. You don't want to be doing that to anybody. And then even though I'm not a gym owner, I'm also conscious of, we want them back tomorrow, especially when they're newer to the sport. We want them to come back tomorrow. We don't want to scare them out of the gym by smashing a new person or a smaller person, right? We've certainly had that happen, like with older people in my gym. Even when I started at the gym that I'm at Blue Belt, I was coming in beating up. I was like in my early 40s, but we had guys that were like 60 years old and like white and blue belts, and they stopped coming. It was like they were getting smashed by these young guys, and it's just like not fun. So I understand the business side of it as well. Right. Not everybody thinks like that. Like, a lot of students don't think like that. They just, I want to go to the gym and I want to roll hard and I want to get my jiu-jitsu practice in. Right.
Mm-hmm. Well, the part of that, though, is the strategy, like helping you as a student, helping your fellow students and instructors understand the name of the game. Yep. If this is a physical chess, it's not just about moving one of your pawns and that's it. You have to be able to eventually, right, capture everybody else's pieces, but move your queen as well. Like, it has to be a strategy so that you're able to have that limit to say, like, okay, maybe I don't roll with this person in the gym, and that's okay. You don't have to roll with every single person.
And that's the magic of like the jiu-jitsu toolbox. Like, you have all of these different tools in your toolbox. You don't always have to be the hammer. You know what I mean? Sometimes you could be like what Milton said, you could pull guard and just, maybe I'm going to work on my guard because this person is less experienced than me. Or for you as your own opportunity to, like, handicap yourself in certain ways. I'm not going to use my arm. I'm not going to use my legs, or I'm just going to use my legs, or I'm going to roll with my eyes closed, or finding other ways to limit your own training so that you both can have something fun happening during the roll. And that's what I love about the jiu-jitsu toolbox. There's a lot of different ways to play the game. It doesn't always have to be the hammer.
What's your advice of both of these questions for both of you? So, and let's start with Sheena, because I think a lot of women want to hear, like, how do you say no to somebody, especially in a situation where it's like, it's a big guy, like, I just don't want to roll with that person, and I've got to, like, how do you express that to them without offending them? And I mean, it's really for anyone, but like, I'd like to, hear what is your advice to a woman who's just like, I don't want to roll with that person. How do I say it nicely where I'm not offending them and making it weird in the gym? Does that make sense?
I would ideally recommend any woman to find a way where she can perform comfortably. So maybe she doesn't want to roll with them. Would she be okay doing the move on them 5 times? Would they be okay drilling? Would they be okay in any scenario working together, so they can, once again, still have the time, the camaraderie of it all. They still get work, but it doesn't have to be in this one specific parameter of like, all right, well, if we're not rolling, if we're not going, 100%, then it's not going to happen. Maybe it's a time for them to redefine their relationship and kind of get to the root of that insecurity, where this is a chance for me to have an opportunity to, in a safe place, let somebody know what feels good, what I'm interested in, what my needs or desires are, and then work through that safely on the mats. And then we can do that off the mats in the rest of our lives, right? Like, isn't that the point of jiu-jitsu, is to have this help us with everything that we need? So if there isn't a guy who we're specifically like thrilled with rolling about, what is possible? What are we capable of doing with that person? And then if there's like absolutely no way for it to happen, it's okay to set that boundary. And it starts with no thanks, right? Or not today, maybe next time. Or I'm sitting out right now for this round. Thanks for asking. No, but thanks for asking. And that's okay to say too.
Yeah, and if that's not, honestly, like I always feel like if that's not acceptable in the environment you're in, then it's like, then maybe you need to think about the environment you're in. Like that should be okay. Like I don't feel like if somebody, you know, like listen, you don't want to hide from the challenges of jiu-jitsu. There's no way to escape that anyhow. Like you're going to have to at some point, like you can't move forward without that. So, you know, I don't think as long as you're not feeling like you're avoiding them because it's just like, you know, it's a tougher role. Like I like what Sheena said, creating some parameters and doing it maybe a little bit differently. But I think it should be okay in any environment to say no to certain people, like if it's just not your vibe or whatever.
Yeah, I've given the advice before, and I think that this is going to probably expand on what Sheena just said, because I've given this advice even for people when they roll with me.
Miss your morning routine, BioPro.
Special thank you to the crew over at Flow and Roll for all their support. Flow and Roll is renowned for their incredible no-gi rash guards, shorts, and leggings. Flow and Roll has quickly become the premier custom apparel provider for academies big and small throughout the United States. Reach out today to discuss your custom order and ask about their incredible pre-order program. You can send an email to flowandroll@gmail.com or visit their Instagram at flow_n_roll and shoot them a direct message. And yes, they can create an awesome custom gi for your academy as well. Visit flowandroll.com to check out their awesome designs, and while you're there, pick up a Jiu-Jitsu Dummy signature tee exclusively at flowandroll.com. And remember, you'll get 20% off your purchase of t-shirts, rash guards, or gis with code JJD.
For Spazzy white belts, if I'm going to roll, I'm the black belt and there's a Spazzy white belt, I'll ask them if they want to work on something, or hey, come here, hey, start in my guard, and then we take it out. We start to take them out of that, like, well, I've got to pass this guard and I got to go really hard. Right now we're in like, even though I'm not a coach in my school, we get into this like kind of coach-student relationship, and then I can kind of guide them. Hey, look, you should put your leg here, and you start getting into this kind of teaching thing, and they realize like you're not, Mike. You said this on one of the other podcasts. Like, I'm not someone that you have to get through. Do you remember? You remember mentioning this? You used Michael Jordan as the example. You said like Michael Jordan didn't have to like play basketball with his coach every time and then like beat him to like, okay, now I can go out on the mat. It's not the goal to get through you. You're not somebody that they have to get through. So it's the same thing for me. Again, I don't own my school. I'm not a coach at my school, but I think we start to say that like we don't have to have this competition. Let's learn jiu-jitsu, and you have a black belt in front of you. Like, ask some questions. Like, it's a great advice for somebody for also that white belt that's like, man, this guy just always beats me up. Well, when you get to that role, ask, hey, could we work on something? Do you mind if I ask you a couple questions? Always ask. Do you mind if I ask you a question? Could we start here because I'm having a problem with this thing? And as soon as you get into that teacher-student role, whichever side it initiates it, it takes away that, well, somebody's got to win. And then now, and also like, especially if you're the new guy, doing that, now you're getting to know your partners. They're knowing that you're open to take information. Anytime I'm giving somebody, as the black belt, giving somebody information or saying, I always ask, can I show you something? Can I show you what you did wrong there? Always ask, because I'm not their coach, so I want to make sure they're okay with taking the information. I don't think anybody's ever said no, but if I just get into like, hey, look, you really got to put your arm here when you do it. It's almost just like, all right, I get it. You beat me up and you submit. No. Do you mind if I tell you? And then same from the white belt, right? You know, hey, do you mind? Could we work on something? And I think just asking that permission is kind of it's helped me from either side. And you know, now again, I deal with like a Spazzy white belt. I'll use it like, hey, let's start in my guard. You start in my guard, or hey, I've rolled over, like I've just sat. Round starts, I've sat and I've rolled over to my side so they can immediately take my back, and we're going to start from there. So those are some tips that I've given people and that I even use for myself. But again, I think turning it into like this coaching relationship for whoever initiates it, I think is super useful, especially when, again, it's a spazzy guy on one side, or it's like I'm getting beat up by that higher belt all the time. That's something that I've done, again, in both cases.
That's great advice. And I think from a teacher's perspective too, like if I'm going to roll with a spazzy white belt, I always remind myself too, like I've got to like protect myself. Like I got to do a lot of this and a lot of this and all this, because I don't want to catch a knee to my head. But I also like the idea of like what you were saying is for me to set some parameters with them too. Like, let's work on some of your technique. Let's help you out. Because I have to often remind myself, Sheena's been a great reminder for me, that I am not the thing my students need to get past. Like talking about the Phil Jackson thing, like, Phil Jackson's job, as the coach for his team, for the Bulls back then, was not to play every player one-on-one to prove that he's worth coaching them now, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. His strength is in his coaching. And I have to remind myself as I get older. Sheena will tell me, she'll say, "Professor, you got to be there tomorrow. Like, don't kill yourself tonight. Your students need you." So I let her be that friendly reminder for myself that like, yeah, I want to roll with my students, but like, I can't engage my ego either and make it like that I got to like kick their ass, or I have something to prove to somebody too.
Sure.
Well, and for us in our own game, how do we roll with somebody who we don't necessarily want to roll with? And maybe it's that we do find a way to create parameters for ourselves so that we can roll together. Or if we're not able to roll together, maybe we're able to drill together or like work on a certain technique or, something together so we can at least partner and move together in a way that's good for everybody, right?
Yes.
What do you think about the statement? I've heard this at different points in my jiu-jitsu journey. Like the way you roll, well, we're kind of introducing maybe a competing aspect to this, but you're going to compete the way you roll, like the way you roll in your gym. And if you're going, light, you wind up competing. You're not going as hard in competition. The affiliation that I was part of originally was like huge on that. It's like, it was like, go hard. Like, it was fight sports. So it was cyborg at the top, kill. It was always like, go hard. And if you were rolling light, people would be like, no, you're going to fight like that in the street. You're going to fight like that in competition. But I mean, there's like there's a point like you can't maintain that, especially if you're not doing this professionally. But it was preached to everyone, regardless of why you were there, whether you were just a hobbyist, you were competing, or you wanted to do this as a living. What do you think about that statement? What do you tell people when you hear something like that? What would you say?
So there's two aspects to this. Like, first, like, as a competitor, I was always taught that you save something for the day of competition. Like, that was always kind of my training modality. Like, if I put it all on the mats and I get to the competition and I'm not at 100%, like, that's a huge problem. Getting to a competition at 95 to 100% is a huge feat in and of itself. And if you can actually do that, you're probably going to be that much further ahead of all the other competitors competing. So there's that aspect of it. Like, leave something for the day of competition if you are a competitor. The second part of that, there's been a move now in mixed martial arts for like fighters to not do full contact sparring like in the gym. Mm-hmm. It's more like a light tap sparring, and then guys saving everything for the day of competition. And actually, even in Muay Thai, they spar that way most of the time. It's like this light kind of tapping sparring, and then it's actually full spar on the day of competition. And why would people do that? Because exactly what you're saying, it's not sustainable. Like, you can't continue that.
Yeah.
We use different parts of our brain when we are fighting and in survival mode versus when we are learning and playing. So if you want to access those regions of your brain, those cognitive thinking skills, you need to do it from a place of calm. And if you are taught in a way, survive, go, and then you go and compete that way, you are forced now to think and operate at a level that is not significant enough to get you that win, to get you that medal, especially when you're competing. That's the most important part, to keep your wits about you and to keep that cleverness so that you can have the strategies available to you and access to them to be able to breathe and to stay calm and to think. It's when you're not able to do that that you're going to get yourself in trouble.
Okay. And think about how that even like ages you, like that kind of constant like stress hormones all the time. Every time you're rolling, you're going to age in dog years, like for your jiu-jitsu. Like you're just going to, you're going to get older quicker. Like your jiu-jitsu journey is not going to be fun for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely see, for me, my journey, I really want to be doing this for a long time. I turned 50 this past year. I'm like, I don't feel 50 in here, but sometimes the body, like in my heart, I don't feel 50. In my head, I don't feel 50. My body, after a couple of training sessions, I could really feel it. What are your thoughts on, I know for me, every couple of months, it winds up just happening, life happens, and I got to take a week off. I tell people, like, it's such a good thing. Like, it's okay to take a week off or take a long weekend. You don't have to train every day, especially when you're getting older, because it's not sustainable. And, the back hurts, and then you don't want to train, and then it starts getting your mental. What are your thoughts on taking breaks at any level, at any age, but especially when you're older?
I think that any kind of, like, we're talking about the parameters again, like, training there can be different versions of training. It doesn't have to be that, like, you go in every day and you roll it crazy hard, then you do that for a couple of days and your body feels like it's just, dead. And then you're trying to do it again, and that's not going to work. So maybe there's different parameters you can put on your training. Like maybe today I'm just going to drill. I'm not going to roll. Or it's going to be like no rolling Thursday. Or, I rolled last time, so today I'm going to just practice technique or something like that. I think it's okay to have different versions of your training.
Mm-hmm. And so that's on the mats. What about off the mats? Mm-hmm. What is just your lifestyle? Like, just because maybe you didn't go train in class that day doesn't mean that you didn't wake up and stretch. Doesn't mean that you didn't sweat and move your body. Doesn't mean that you didn't go out and get nature and engage in wonderful relationships and evolve your communication skills and get out of your comfort zone a little bit at work and try something new and different, right? That's the point of jiu-jitsu, is maybe I'm not training in armbar today, but I'm training at my business. I'm training at my life. I'm training to be a better person or friend or something like that. So I highly encourage people to take their training off the mats. Just because you didn't spend an hour in class, it doesn't mean that you're not living like a martial artist, or that you still can't incorporate and infuse that into your everyday decision making. Like when you go and sit down, like, okay, I know I'm not going to class. I'm taking a break from class. So I'm going to do jiu-jitsu in the kitchen. I'm going to fuel my body so that when I go into class next week, I'm a machine. I'm ready to go. Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's, I guess, I would recommend.
Yeah. I love that.
What is your world? What is your world like, or who is your community off the mat? Is it like me, who, like, it's all jiu-jitsu. It's all jiu-jitsu people. They've become my friends, my family, my confidants. Is it the same with you, or do you have people that you know and that are in your life that don't do it, and are those times like a little bit like they don't understand it? You know how we obsess. Like, what is your world outside of jiu-jitsu or off the mats?
We don't have a ton of people in our life other than like immediate family that are like non-jiu-jitsu. Pretty much everybody else that we talk to is either a student, a friend, or someone that I'm friends with in the jiu-jitsu community or something like that. Like, we don't have a ton of non-jiu-jitsu friends. It's like, it always reminds me too, like when I was in the military, like when you're in the military, you're like a soldier and everybody else is a civilian, right? Because they're not in the military. I feel like jiu-jitsu can feel like we do jiu-jitsu, then everybody else is a civilian. Like
the normies. What is it? Is it like Harry Potter? I'm not a big fan of those movies. It was a little bit after my time, but what do they call them? Like normies or something? Like, it's just like, somebody who's outside of our world.
Yeah, something I can't relate to non-jiu-jitsu people. I don't know. I don't even want to say like I have more respect for jiu-jitsu people, but I guess I probably do in some way. I guess I don't know.
I feel
I think, but even if we don't have a big, like a bunch of everybody, jiu-jitsu, it's like we could go anywhere in the world and we have that family. We can go online and we have that community. So it's like, and that's with anybody, right? So. Yeah. No matter what your world may or may not have in it, it is really special because there are these relationships, you know?
Sure.
So, yeah, but us, basically it's jiu-jitsu 24/7.
So that's going to lead us to the retreat, but I have one other question.
Yeah.
What is it like? Like, do you guys like, okay, you're married, you know, there's going to be these little arguments in any relationship. How are you able to handle that, like on and off the mat? Are there days where you know, I've talked to couples. I always ask this question because I've talked to couples be like, we could be mad at each other and sometimes we get it out in a roll. Like we'll get on the mats. Tubby Aliquin and her husband Eric talked about like they'd be mad at each other and then they'd be like, let's get on the mat. Or they're in class and then it's like their time. They're the two that need to roll together. Like everybody's matched up and they roll and they wind up. Sometimes it gets intense, but most of the time the anger, like it's over after that roll. Have you guys experienced anything like that? Is that what happens with you? Or like talk to us about that a little bit.
I mean, definitely in the past we had those kind of roles. I don't know that we do that as much anymore, but we used to. I definitely remember some roles where we were like maybe mad at each other that day, and then we got on the mats and no one said anything, and we rolled and we like kicked each other's asses, and then we were like fine with it.
Yeah, we got that energy out. But then, you know, it's kind of gotten to the point with Mike and I now where I feel like our roles are very they're technical, and we I don't know that we're mad at each other a lot.
No, but we roll hard on each other. Like we definitely like it's a different role with Sheena than it is anybody else. And mostly because she just like it's kind of annoying actually, because she knows she's my first black belt, but she knows like my jiu-jitsu so well and me so well that she just does weird shit that I can't even like get her to go into my guard or even like get my legs. You know what I mean? Like there's just stuff with her that's just so different in the role than other people, you know? And it's kind of annoying actually. So I need to like not show her everything. I need to like turn the funnel off for a minute.
Yeah, that's great.
But now these days she's showing me stuff, so you know what are you gonna do?
The student has become the teacher.
But whatever works.
Yeah, exactly. The student becomes a teacher.
If it works for you and your relationship, do it.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. So let's talk about the retreat. We're talking about community and the retreat. How's everything going with the like, you know, kind of the bookings? This is tell everybody the like where it is, the date, like, you know, give us as much information as you can, and I'm already signed up.
Yeah, well, yes, super excited.
So
We're
excited.
Gonna be
You have no clue.
Yeah, it's going to be right November 14th through the 19th. It's at heroesbjj.com. That's where you can go check it out, or you can go on any of our BJJ After 40 sites and you'll see it on there. But yes, it's going to be really, really awesome. We're super excited about it.
And we actually have people who they're going to be training and they're bringing somebody who is not going to be training.
Yeah,
so
it's coming with like spouses and stuff like that. They're non-trainers, but that's good. That's the fun part too, because there'll be a lot of cool like non-jiu-jitsu excursions and things that we'll do that we can all do together. Then there'll be, you know, a few hours of training every day and some really good breakout sessions on nutrition and mobility and flexibility and all that good stuff too.
Gi and no-gi.
Gi and no-gi and tons of jiu-jitsu. Like, yeah, we're really excited about you. Have both of us, 2 black belts.
Yeah. So what do you, is it like, you just kind of mentioned a couple of things. Is there like a curriculum basically that you're coming into it with? Like we know we're going to accomplish these things during our sessions?
Yeah, like we have a framework to it, but I'm always like, you know, I try to be adaptable within that framework too, based on like who we have, the belt levels that are there, kind of what we're doing. But yeah, we have specific objectives that we want to reach. And the biggest thing is we want you guys to leave with everything and more than what was there. Like, you know, how many times do you go to a seminar and like they do a bunch of techniques all day, then you leave and you remember one thing. Our goal is for people to remember everything and then have your own sense of aha moments, your own sense of awakenings, and then leave the camp with a renewed vigor and be able to go into your life like unlike you were before, right?
Absolutely. Not just strategies for like kind of like we're saying, like you go into a seminar and it's, oh, I learned this move. We want to give you a more holistic perspective of jiu-jitsu, just like we incorporate with our life. So the mental, the emotional aspects and how to learn, how to really understand your learning style so that you can apply it when you're done with the seminar, when you go home, so that you have all of these tactical things that you got from the seminar that you can take, the submissions and the chains and the sequences, but you also have just a better understanding of how you can learn from your instructors, or if you're a coach or a professor, an instructor, you can learn how to teach better as well, and continue that evolution beyond the seminar, ideally.
And be a better student, learn better, how to assimilate the techniques quicker, and all of the little hacks that we figured out. In fact, we have a book coming out here shortly, the BJJ After 40 Survival Guide. Will be out this week. And within that book, like, we poured our heart and soul into that. And that book has a lot of those strategies and a lot of the stuff that we'll be covering at the camp, but like with us in detail, hitting all the key points.
And as far as the retreat, right, I know that, I don't know if I read this or if you said this to me, maybe I saw it in a post. You don't have to be over 40 to come to the retreat, right? If you're a jiu-jitsu practitioner and you are under 40, you are very much welcome, right?
Totally. Yeah, and that's kind of like what we talked about earlier with the BJJ before 40. Like, it starts in your, starts wherever you are now. Like, starting those habits and doing those things now is going to make a huge difference in your, whether you're going to be 35, 40, 45, whatever happens to be. Yeah, so it's open to everyone.
Yeah. Now let's talk a little bit more about the book. What inspired this? Was this something a long time in the making? Did somebody ask you to write it, or did you guys just think, like, I think, it's time to let's start writing some of these things down? How did that start? How did the process start?
Kind of both of that. Like, it's a lifetime, literally lifetimes in the making, in the sense that, like, we both did. We put everything into this book that we would want any practitioner of jiu-jitsu to learn. Everything on the mats, off the mats, all of the mental aspects of training. So it has, like, literally everything that we would want to incorporate for you into your training.
What we found was, we have these platforms where people, regardless of their age, adults, are coming and they're interested in doing jiu-jitsu, or they're doing jiu-jitsu. And a couple of things were happening when they would come on the platforms. They would be really excited and, like, really involved pretty quickly, right? And it would either be one of two things. One, I got injured, and what do I do? Or how do I not get injured? And it was to the point where there were so many questions.
And it was kind of like, either, like, I can't go to everybody's school and, like, change your school. I can't even really do that at all. And I can't bring everybody here. So, like, for us was like, how do we get all of the information, all of the lessons, all of the things that we've learned in the past? For me, like, martial arts for 40 plus years, how do we get all of this information to people that are doing jiu-jitsu? And so that was the impetus of the book, was, putting all of this together. But then the other aspect of the book is we wrote a large majority of the book. It's about 320 pages. We also brought in other experts from other fields to contribute to the book. So we have 12 other experts that are from,
not just jiu-jitsu, but CEOs, fitness experts. We wanted to fill it with just the understanding that we want everybody to try to train. So not like a certain affiliation, but just the flag of jiu-jitsu. So trying to find people that would help you do that are going to help you stay on the mats, that are going to stay injury-free. And
I wanted to have a multimedia experience. So, like, I'm a kind of visual, auditory, kinesthetic learner. Like, I like to watch videos. I like to hear them. I like to do it all, right? Like, that's just kind of how my brain. It's hard for me to just sit down and read a book. I can do it, but I can do it in short spurts. So we incorporated a multimedia aspect in the sense that there's QR codes throughout the entire book, tons of them. And all of our experts, survival experts, also contributed videos as well. So there's stuff from, like, videos you can scan and watch right there while you're reading the book, stuff on, like, visualizations, affirmations. So there's some really cool visualizations, if I can say it, that are great for, like, let's say you're the guy that gets super nervous before you go to class, or you're freaking out when you get to class. So there's these great little visualizations.
And then there's like home workouts, there's techniques and drills.
Yes, so all kinds of, so the QR codes are throughout the book. So there's that whole multimedia aspect to it, in addition to the regular book as well.
Mm-hmm. Which is very much Mike's style. It goes back to how we like to learn. And especially as adults, we grow up as kids being in a school and being taught how to learn. And then as adults, we're not really taught that anymore. And doing this thing that we love, we want to be able to retain this information and maintain it, right? So having a way to not just get it to you through one source, like just the written word, but if you're the type of person who likes to listen, if you're the type of person who likes to watch a video, because that's Mike, true to his essence and core. And most people don't just learn one way. Most people like a little bit of everything here, just like on the podcast. We can listen to it, we can watch it, right? So having that throughout the book now is really cool and special, because that's just us.
Yeah. So now you guys have a couple of munchkins, right? You've got some small children. Are they, what are their ages? Are they under 10, or one of them's under 10?
Well, we have 17, 14, and 3-year-old twins.
And oh my God, 3-year-old twins. sorry for the oh my God. I was like, 3-year-old twins. Wow.
It's okay. It's okay. You're okay. You're safe.
You can give them back.
You know, how important is this? You know, first of all, who's training? Are the older kids? Do they train, or is the whole family on the mat?
Our oldest daughter, she took a break to start high school. She had been homeschooled for her whole life, and she started high school. So she took a break, and now she's kind of getting back into it. Our 14-year-old son is really interested in kind of getting back into it and competing. So I think both of us just want to get him through high school and see where that goes. And then our 3-year-old twins, I imagine they'll be wanting to.
Yeah, like it's, you know, it's like starting, and you know, it's not like really starting with the kids, because our kids, jiu-jitsu is always in our life. So yeah. You know, our little ones, you know, their play area is our dojo. Like it's, you know, like that's their life. Like their life is on the mats. Their life is seeing jiu-jitsu. Their life is gis and, you know, rash guards and all of that. So even though they're not in class yet, like it's very much part of their essence. And I'm sure, I can't imagine a reality where they're not doing jiu-jitsu. Like they're just, you know, they're bred and born for it.
I heard some early Gracie interviews, Henner and Hedon, talking about how before they were really on the mats, they played jiu-jitsu at home with their dad. Like again, it kind of creeps into every aspect. When they're home playing, he would be like, he knew, you know, dad knew what he was doing. Like they're playing and they're passing his guard and he's on his back and they're trying to jump on him. Right? They you know, is that happening for you now? Is it like you play with them and it always like kind of gears into that jiu-jitsu play a little bit?
Yeah, of course. And when they play, you know, it's interesting with twins too, because you have like these 2 little 3-year-olds running around. They're about to be 4 in a week, and they will start wrestling with each other. So sometimes we have to come in and kind of break it up. Sometimes we'll let them just kind of play for a minute. But the interesting thing to watch is like how intuitive jiu-jitsu is for them. Like you watch them and you're like, he just did a back take on, or a takedown on her, and she just took his back. That's so crazy. Look at her putting this belt on. You know what I mean? And we've never shown them stuff. We don't show them techniques. But I think there's just something true to the instinctive, natural like state of our body that we do jiu-jitsu. Like wrestling's so natural for people. Like you see it in like 3-year-olds, they just start doing jiu-jitsu. It's crazy. It's so intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
Sheena, you mentioned homeschooling before. Was your daughter homeschooled because of jiu-jitsu, because she was on the mats? Was that something outside, had nothing to do with jiu-jitsu? Because I see that happening a lot. My coach's son is homeschooled because his life is jiu-jitsu. And we have like our front desk girl, same thing. Her husband is a coach. She runs the front desk, and one of their children is homeschooled. And he is the first Fight to Win children's champion. It's the first time they ever give a belt to a child. So he's actually just won that recently. So like their lives are jiu-jitsu, but they're primarily homeschooled, I believe, because of jiu-jitsu. What is your story behind the homeschooling?
Yeah, for Mike and I, that was our job. So the only way we would be able to see our kids is if they were on the mats with us. So our two older kiddos, our 17 and our 14-year-olds, they literally lived on the mats with us. So during the day it was school, and then during the night they were training, we were teaching and training, and that's all we've ever known. So when our kids decided, and our older kids decided to start high school these last couple of years, that's been a new adventure for us. But getting to have the homeschool route where you incorporate jiu-jitsu into your physical education, it's pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
Just on a personal bias, you know. And we get to see, like, it's rad because like part of the homeschool is like, okay, you have to learn how to do your laundry, which means washing your gi for the next day. So once again, it's like those lines are blurred when it's this deep in jiu-jitsu. It's like less about going and training a class. It's more about living that certain lifestyle and getting to be just that type of person that is looking through the lens of a martial artist. So in anything we do, whether it's school or communicating, like talking to somebody, anything we do, it's through or as a jiu-jitsu practitioner. So that's just kind of been us individually, collectively, and as a family.
Will you? So the two older are now going to school. They're going to a public school or go somewhere for school. They're no longer homeschooled, both of them.
Yeah, they decided to start, for the first time ever in high school. So
it was like the crazy part for that was like they went from like full-time homeschool their entire life, never really ever being in a school before, in the sense of like being in a classroom, like, you know, having like that traditional school experience, like never ever
daycare, anything,
none of that. And so like I was more freaked out than them. Like my son this last year, this was his first year, and like he, you know, he's 14, and I was like, Sheena, he's going to be sitting alone at lunch. Kids are going to make fun of him and stuff. And it was like the complete opposite of that. She's like, kids don't do that in lunch anymore. They have phones, and it's not like this isn't like the 1980s. It's not your high school. He's like the best kid ever. Like he's got an entire network of friends. He's got an entire social thing.
But the fact that we were able to homeschool, like,
and I think we gave them a really good homeschool experience in the sense that they never were like these kids who were like children of the corn or something and secluded in their basement or something, you know. They were like in the jiu-jitsu school around other kids. They're like super social kids, and they're great kids. And what I think is cool about it for them is that they didn't get to high school with like 10 years already or 8 years or something of schooling and burned out on it. They were like excited about high school, and they're excited about homework, and they're kind of like, you know, like little nerds about that, but like, you know,
and it was their choice. It was their choice to do this.
Yeah.
And they you know, they like playing sports and doing stuff too. So it's really cool to see them have that like really balanced experience, because I used to think like I came from the era where homeschool kids were kind of creepy and weird, and like, you know, it's just not like that anymore nowadays. I think it's pretty common, especially like post-pandemic, more than ever.
Yeah.
When we were teaching martial arts, we were going into elementary schools all of the time. And we, again, like before we were married and had kids, we were both like into homeschooling just in general, like if we ever did have kids. And then when it came time for us to walk that walk,
just the lifestyle works better. Like I wouldn't want to be like working all day and then not be able to ever see my kids like at night and stuff like that, or working all night teaching martial arts and not see my kids, because like, you know, so it was nice to have them home during the day, being at the school with us and bonding and spending that time together.
And I liked having that quality of people that like, my kids do see people coming in and getting out of their comfort zone and training and working hard and making an investment in themselves and their families. And so it's always been a really good experience for us to get to provide that for that type of life for our kids.
Yeah, definitely.
I see in the kids in my school, so many of the kids, the parents wind up training after the kids have started. It's just kind of right. It's a thing. The kids are there. You're talking to the parents. You're like, come to the adult class. It happens a lot. Again, they've become, they work at the school now, or they coach or whatever. Did the kids in your school, well, let me finish that. In mine, I see that the kids, even if they're in different elementary schools from some of the surrounding towns, but they all come to jiu-jitsu at our place. It's crazy. Like, they're such good friends. Like, yeah, they have their friends in school, but the jiu-jitsu kids are their circle of friends. These guys, they hang out, they sleep over at each other's houses, they go to movies, they go to places together. The school does a summer camp, so that gets them even closer, just kind of outside of that, just the jiu-jitsu side. Do you find that with your students? And how about your kids when they were training with you? Was it like, again, they're only friends with jiu-jitsu people?
Yeah, for a long time with our kids, like they were at the school all the time. So they were always around other kids that did jiu-jitsu. So they kind of grew up with that. And I think it was really awesome for both of them too, because my son grew up knowing that like girls could kick his ass. Like he had a healthy respect for females, including his mom can kick his ass. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, I think that was really good in terms of taming their egos in a healthy way growing up. And we see it in our own academy where like mom and dads, and we have all kinds of families. Most of our students are families, or, so they're here with their kids and their kids are hanging out while they're taking class and they're hanging out with the other kids. And I see kids going off and doing things together and having social events. So I think that's what's so great about the jiu-jitsu community for anyone, is it literally gives you a place and a community and something to be a part of. And I think it's accessible to anyone too.
When
truly.
You have like that, because you have different types of friends, right? But when you have that friend who on the mats has your back maybe, but like out there, they also have your back, right? Yeah. That's like, man, that's so sweet. There's nothing like that. That's the best kind of friend you can have. So getting, whether you're a kid and you have that, or our kids have that, or you're an adult or a parent and you get to experience you having that, or your kids having that, it is a really special relationship, just because of what you go through on the mats, or what you see the other kid or the other person go through, to get to experience some of the sweeter or easier or just other parts of life together. It makes it really, really cool.
That really resonates with me, because when I was going through my divorce this last year, leaving practice, and one of my training partners, there was a couple of guys that would always do this, grabbing me and like checking in with me. And we'd spend just as much time out in the parking lot talking after class than we did in the gym. And I'd be like, wow, we've been out here for over an hour just bullshitting by our cars. And I don't know that they know. And I don't know that I've really expressed, but like they helped me out so much they don't even know. Like just them listening to me bitch and complain, or just getting it out, outside of just having gotten a little of that emotional side out on the mat, was like invaluable to me. Like it really helped me. So that absolutely resonates with me. Like, just being there for each other on and off the mat. And again, all of my friends, I talk to friends of mine from New York. They're in other states, so they're still in New York. I've got a buddy out in Colorado. We talk all the time. But here in Florida, everyone is either in MMA or jiu-jitsu more specifically, but then like, in maybe other parts of MMA, but everyone's attached to martial arts in some way, shape, or form. That leads me to my next question for you guys. Will you homeschool your kids? Will you, the twins, will they go through that same process, or will it be different for them?
I think we both agree that we want to homeschool and then leave it up to them when they get to high school.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that we did that with our kids, because it like, we kind of have the proof of concept now. Like, daughter's this year, she's getting ready to go to college, and she's very intelligent and she's an awesome kid. And the way that I hear her teachers talk about her, it's very inspiring. It's like, wow, like, yeah, she is a really cool kind of kid. And she is outspoken and she believes in herself. And I see where all of that came from, like from jiu-jitsu and all of her training, and seeing her like actually do that in high school in the real world is pretty cool. And it's very redeeming in the sense that like, yeah, it was probably smart to homeschool them for the early stages of their education. and then allow them that opportunity in high school to go have that full experience that they want to have. My daughter was a cheerleader, you know what I mean? She did the whole thing. So like, I love that she did the entire high school experience, but on her terms.
That's awesome. That's great. All right. So we did get one listener question that I wanted to ask you, because this one really resonated with me. This is his Instagram handle is Got Muses, I think is how you say it. So what are your thoughts on training takedowns after 40? And I want to preface this. My own statement is I deal with this a lot because, you know, a bad lower back. And I'm always like worried about this. So he says, I have back problems and I only drill takedowns, but I never go live. What's your advice to somebody like that, somebody at this age with back problems and takedowns? What do you tell somebody about, about this?
So look at first, what are your goals, right? Like if you're going to be a competitor, and you have back problems, then that's, going to be an issue. Like maybe you have to pull guard, maybe you can't do a lot of takedowns. So that's, might be something that you can't do. But if you're like a normal person training jiu-jitsu, I think it's important to understand takedowns. Like here's how we do it. Like we practice takedowns in class, we drill them, but in a safe way, like no one's slamming anybody. And then there's only so much of it. It can't be like an entire hour of takedowns. So maybe it's a small burst of takedowns. If we want to practice it in more of a functional way, we'll do something like this. So if we taught like single leg takedown that day, then we get to the point where we want to roll. I'll say, all right, guys, you're going to move around. You're going to decide ahead of time who's doing the takedown, who's receiving it. So move around, do some fakes and stuff. You're going to grab the takedown. You're going to let them do the takedown. And then when you hit the ground, then you can start your roll at that point. So again, putting some parameters around the takedowns, still practicing them. But I don't think that really, honestly, anybody over 40, and even when I was competing, like I competed in my 40s quite a bit. And I actually got takedowns pretty much like every match. I had one good takedown, like an outside leg trip. That was about it. But I would get it every single time. Did I practice it leading up to the tournament ever? Probably not. Like I didn't even do a whole lot of stand-up takedowns practice. And again, I would save it for the competition. So there's that aspect of it. But I think like for normal people, hobbyists or whatever, training in a gym, I don't think it's a good idea to do stand-up takedowns, resisting 100% and just trying to get a takedown without hurting each other.
Because then again, what is the goal? What is the point? If the point is to educate ourselves so we understand the concept, the principles, and then the specific details to achieve that, absolutely, yes. Know a basic sweep, know a double leg, know a single leg, know, just maybe a handful of takedowns, and that's it, right? Why do you need to be an absolute expert at every single takedown, 100% every single time? Is that the name of the game here, right? Sure. So I would see where he could try to figure out the partners who are willing to play around with
practicing
and
maybe too, like if you have a bad back, maybe you're not the receiver of the move, maybe you're just the person doing the move, right? So like maybe you can practice the takedowns on the other guys, but you're not going to have people actually take you down. So I think that's a great way to do it if you do have like a back or a knee issue, because it's not worth like compromising your back or making something become chronic and eventually have to have a surgery over just like because I want to be better at takedowns. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, it can't be like, well, I'm doing this in spite of the fact that I have a bad back. It's got to be because I have a bad back. Because I project that nonsense onto your back. Your back's it's holding you up. It's doing a great job all day throughout the day, and as you're sleeping, just to do it again the next day. So like, I love my back. It's doing awesome. I just don't want to put it through that. So because of that, I'm going to work these takedowns.
We always say sustainable means outliving the present moment. Like it has to outlive the present moment. Like I want to do takedowns right now, but can I tomorrow still? So it's got to outlive the present moment.
Gotcha. All right. So we're going to get ready to wrap things up, but I'm going to go through what these are like the final questions that we ask. These are the most popular questions that we get. So we put them all at the end of the show. Mike, you've done this with us before. I don't know if we named it this before, but we call it, Christian?
The drill down.
We call this the drill down now. So I'm going to go through these questions, maybe about anywhere up to 10 questions that we have, depending on time. So we're going to ask you both. I want you both to answer these. So, Sheena, we'll start with you. Preference: gi or no gi?
Gi.
Mike, gi. Okay.
We're gi people. Yeah, we like both, but
Yeah.
I prefer gi probably more.
So on takedowns, is it takedown or pull guard?
Takedown.
Takedown. We're old school.
All right. Okay. Music during rolling, yes or no?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. And then Sheena, what's your go-to? You
If there's
have
no
control
music,
of. Yeah.
If there's no music, it's like being in a bar with no music. It's weird.
Yeah.
We're just talking.
Yeah, I don't care what kind of music.
You don't have a preference?
Music, yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Go ahead, say that again.
That as long as there's music playing,
yeah.
I'm not like it could be literally anything. Like I like a little bit of everything. So like I could be listening to anything, but there's definitely got to be music. I wouldn't even want to roll without music. That's just weird.
Yeah. Yeah. I like to sing. No matter what's on, if I know the word, I love to sing to my rolling partner.
You
Especially
while you work.
yeah. I love when like the coach has like some music on and then like some slow song creeps in somehow in the playlist. I love that. And then you sing to your partner. It's great.
Like taking her back.
Just whispering in their ear. Or even if I'm getting somebody's on my back and I'm singing to them, they're just like, what the hell's going on? This guy's singing. I'm about to choke him.
This is weird. Like black belt's a weird level.
Let's make it weird.
So tell me about annoying things that students do. Give me one each. What's the most annoying thing that you get back from a student when you're training?
For me, it's like them talking while we're rolling. That is like, that drives me crazy. I know some people, it's like a weird nervous tick or something, but it just like the nonstop incessant talking. Like the worst is if like you got them in a move and they're trying to coach you on it. That one, that's just unacceptable. Like that's not acceptable. But like no talking. What about for you?
Yeah, I guess not just no talking, but like I don't like when people are doing really good and they're just kind of shitting on themselves. So I guess I'd say like,
Yeah, like the people that like, I don't like that either. That's not cool.
Yeah.
You'd hate rolling with me. I love to talk during my roll. I think it's less about I don't think like a nervous tick. I think that I did it at points to like get in their head a little bit, like just to mess around. Be like, oh no, what are you doing? You're not getting that. Oh, you're not gonna get my wrist. Like I'm narrating the roll, but not in a way to like get them to stop. But I think I would mess with them a little bit, and it would like get in their head a little bit. But it became a fun thing. My coach will yell out when people are talking, "Save it for Facebook," and then people usually know to shut up.
Save it for MySpace.
Sheena, what would you be doing if you hadn't found martial arts?
I think the same thing I'm doing, being a wife and a mom.
Yeah. Mike?
Being sad. Being like really depressed. No, I probably would. Like honestly, like jiu-jitsu's like been the, my medicine for depression. So like I would be, I think it would be really hard on me to not have jiu-jitsu in my life. I couldn't imagine any reality where it doesn't exist in my life.
Mm-hmm.
But if it wasn't there, that'd be pretty rough. Like I'd be pretty, I don't know if we'd be here together, honestly.
Wow. Do you guys, I mean, I know that you're involved with, the BJJ After 40 brand, and you wrote the book and you're doing the retreat. What do you guys do outside of jiu-jitsu for fun? Or is it just more things that relate to jiu-jitsu?
We like skateboarding, as a family. Like we like to ride our skateboards, and we like to do things outside with our kids. So we're really kind of outdoors, kind of more natural people, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then like you said our kids are the rest of our life. So if it's not jiu-jitsu, it's our family, and trying to be outside is really nice, and Colorado's the perfect place to do that.
Yeah. Did you guys, like when the kids were little, you have the two little ones now, when the kids were little, did they do things outside of jiu-jitsu? Were they able, you're homeschooling, so I don't know that like school sports are readily available. I think some places like, you could be homeschooled and then like join a team. Did they do any of that when they were growing up? Or was it, again, like gym class with jiu-jitsu outside of, homeschool is over, more jiu-jitsu? Was it like that?
Our big thing has always been making sure our kids have music, dance, and jiu-jitsu in their life. Like we've always wanted to introduce those three things. So like our teenage daughter was always into guitar. Like she's taken guitar lessons her whole life, and she's a singer and plays guitar. So she's always been super into music. Our son Presley, who's 14, is really, really into Latin dancing and break dancing. So that's kind of his whole world. I saw you
post a video the other day. I saw that.
Yeah,
okay.
He's like, that's damn, dude. Like he likes, and it was kind of a surprise to us, honestly. Like he did Latin dancing when he was really little, like when he was like, what, 5 or 6 or something. And then there was only one other boy at the time, so he couldn't get into it, and he didn't want to do it after a while. But then when he was older, a couple of years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, he came to us and said he wanted to go back to dance again. But now he's like, you know, a teenage boy, and there's all kinds of girls there, and there's more boys dancing now too. So now it's like, right now he's kind of got it figured out. He's 14, and he's a nice looking kid, and he break dances, and he can Latin dance, and so he's like, you know. We always knew that. We were like, listen, I appreciate Latin dance. When he's like 15, 16, 19 years old, he's going to love this. So.
Oh, God. Yeah. Like, I mean, what girl doesn't love a guy that dances, right?
Like I said, we've always wanted them to have music, dance, and jiu-jitsu in their life in some form.
That's great. All right. This is our very last question.
Dun, dun, dun.
I don't know if Sheena knows it. We're going to let Sheena go first because, Mike, you've answered this more than a couple of times. Do you or do you not wash your jiu-jitsu belt?
Oh, man. You know, I never used to wash it because I didn't want to lose the mojo, right? Like, you can't lose the juju. But like after, I think, 15 years, this guy made me start washing my belt. So I can wash the belt now.
And I honestly don't, I would say, like, I don't wash it as much as I should. Like, I mean, I would love to say that I washed it every time, but I probably wash it every few weeks or even once a month sometimes. I don't wash it nearly as much as I should. But I definitely think people should wash your belt. Like,
you gotta wash.
It's not immune to bacteria. Like, that's crazy. And I know people get so passionate about that. It's so kind of strange to me, but like, yeah, you definitely got to wash your shit. It's another part of your gi, dude. You got to wash it.
And then you got to make up for it because you lost it.
So full disclosure, I've washed every belt that I've ever had. I've pretty much almost, except for white belt, I had 2 belts. So I always had 2 belts. Coach would give me one, and then with the podcast, or even my coach would be like, hey, this is a great brand, buy this belt. But Flow and Roll pretty much has been with us since I was a purple belt, so I always had the one that I got promoted in, and then Flow and Roll would send me one. So I have not washed my black belt yet. I've had it since December. I have not washed it yet, but I do spray it with either Lysol, or we had a sponsor, Neutral Zone Clean. So I have lots of like bottles and sprays and stuff. So I always spray it. I take it, I hang it, I spray it. So I've done that because other people have told me, well, do this if you really want to keep it clean. So I haven't washed it yet. I will wash it. But it's like the one belt. Yeah, I don't know. It's just the one where it's like I do want this one to last as long as possible. There is, I guess, something special about this belt more than any of the other belts. Like, you knew you were going to get another belt. Even though like Flow and Roll is going to send me like an embroidered belt with my name, he's working on it. I want this one to last and not fall apart. This is right. I guess conceivably, at my age, I don't know that I'll ever see a coral belt, but this is it. So I just want this one to last the longest. I definitely want to wash it. And it's already, there were about 4 of us that got promoted at the same time. So we all got black belts, and we were all A3s. And it's already happened where our belts have come off and we're just grabbing it. We're like, is this mine? Is it yours? Nobody knows. They all look the same. Nobody's washed them yet. So I could conceivably have come home with another belt. I just put a little marker on mine now. I put a mark on the red. There's like the patch. There's like the name of the belt. And I colored in some of the letters just so I can see, like, I'll know which one's mine. But yeah, I haven't watched it. I will though. I'm a belt washer. I'm an advocate for belt washing. So
you can always buy another belt. Just remember that.
Yeah. There's a little something special about this one. I got to get over it. When my Flow and Roll one comes, I'll wash this belt.
When I got my first black belt, I was like, oh, I don't want to drop it. I don't want to. This is like I was, like everybody at first. And then one time I went home. I was driving home one night during a rainstorm. I got home and I realized that my belt was out the car door. dragging the entire way home, dude. Just hopping down the road like this. Dude.
The shame.
It was covered in mud. It was all shitty looking. I was like, oh my God, what is wrong with me?
Wow. What belt was that? Which one?
That was my original black belt.
That was your original black belt.
Black belt after being a brown belt for 13 years, and I dragged it all the way home. What are you gonna do, dude? Just go get a new belt.
So let me give you guys an opportunity. We've talked about the book. If you want to, any shout outs that you want to give to anybody, say hello, thank yous, sponsors, anything. Now's your time.
Thank you to Feito IT and AV, specializing in commercial and residential automation, security cameras, CCTV, POS, and more. Check them out at feitoitav.com or call 305-428-2515 and let them know the dummy sent you. Special thank you to the crew over at Flow and Roll for all their support. Flow and Roll is renowned for their incredible no-gi rash guards, shorts, and leggings. Flow and Roll has quickly become the premier custom apparel provider for academies big and small throughout the United States. Reach out today to discuss your custom order and ask about their incredible pre-order program. You can send an email to flowandroll@gmail.com or visit their Instagram at flow_n_roll and shoot them a direct message. And yes, they can create an awesome custom gi for your academy as well. Visit flowandroll.com to check out their awesome designs, and while you're there, pick up a Jiu-Jitsu Dummy signature tee exclusively at flowandroll.com. And remember, you'll get 20% off your purchase of t-shirts, rash guards, or gis with code JJD.
Yes, so obviously everybody check out the book, which is going to be out in another week, the BJJ After 40 Survival Guide, which will be available on Amazon. I also want to announce, too, we just created a collaboration with X Marshall. They're going to be carrying a line of BJJ After 40 rash guards. They got all these dope-ass designs that are going to be coming out this week. So that's going to be through xmarshall.com. X Marshall.
Yep, familiar with the brand. Congratulations.
Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah. So, check out the book, dude. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait to share it with the world.
Well, Sheena, do you have anything to add?
No,
it
was
okay.
To meet you.
You guys are like your love of jiu-jitsu is contagious. Mike, we've talked 3 times now on the podcast. I'll always look forward to these. Your take on jiu-jitsu is kind of in line with the way I feel about jiu-jitsu, so I love talking to you about it. I'm so excited to see you guys in Costa Rica. Maybe I will by then. Maybe I'll be bringing a guest with me. I don't know. Maybe we'll see.
We're rooting for you, dude.
Or maybe I meet somebody there that's as passionate about jiu-jitsu and single. So thank you. Again, I always appreciate. Look, anytime you want to come on, if you're ever in Florida, please come in. We have plenty of room here for 2 or 3 people. So I'd love to have you guys in studio one day. But I'm absolutely this is my booked vacation that I love having a goal. And I'm just looking at that in November. I'm like, this is the thing that I'm going to be prepared to go to. So I'm super excited about that. So thank you for coming on. Anytime you want to come on, we definitely have to come up when you get the book and we get the jacket. We can help you promote it a little bit, whether it's in the next couple of months or sooner. We're always open for you. So
sounds good.
Thank you everybody for watching and listening. You can check us out at Jiu-Jitsu Dummies for all the ways to watch, listen, and support. My personal IG is Uncle Milty BJJ. Thank you to Bo, who always does our post-production, and we didn't get to have him in studio today, but we miss you. And thank you, Christian, as well. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. Peace, love, jiu-jitsu. Os.